Hello friends, I am Arpit and I am here with today's analysis. Today is 5th of November and we're going to deal with two very important topics. The first is the Spain Prime Minister's visit to India. The Spain Prime Minister was here for a 2-day visit on October 28th and 29th. One of the key highlights was inauguration of an aircraft manufacturing facility in Gujarat by the Spanish Prime Minister. Actually, Airbus, the Spanish company, and Tata have collaborated for this kind of manufacturing. This plant will not only boost India's defense manufacturing capabilities, since the aircraft will be manufactured is for defense purposes over there, and it will also lead to India's exports for defense products to other countries of the world. So yes, this is a substantial achievement, and the best part is that this plant was set up in record time in October 2022. It was decided, and 2 years down the line, it has been inaugurated. So that is an achievement in itself. Next is Justice Sanjeev Khanna to be the next Chief Justice of India. 9th of November is going to be the last working day of the present CJI, that is Mr. D.Y. Chandrachud. The appointment of CJI is basically based on a precedent or an age old practice. What is that practice? That practice is that the outgoing CJI recommends the name of the senior most judge of the Supreme Court to be the Chief Justice of India. Doesn't matter what tenure of service is left of the senior most judge who has to become the CJI. For example, the CJI before Mr. D.Y. Chandrachud was Justice U.U. Lalit, who became the CJI only for 2 months. But why he became? Because he was the senior most judge of the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court does not violate this precedent. And we will be dealing with the MCQs, and we will be obviously dealing with the answers to the MCQs of 28th of October. Now, Spain Prime Minister's visit to India. This was basically one unique visit which happened, or which was undertaken by a Spanish Prime Minister in 18 years. So the last Spanish Prime Minister to visit India was 18 years ago. Although the Spanish Prime Minister visited India last year for the G20 summit, but not for a bilateral meeting. So the key highlight was inauguration of a facility in Vadodara for manufacturing C-295 medium lift tactical transport aircraft. This is a military aircraft. Medium lift means the carrying capacity or the payload it can lift is medium, I would say, of medium category, that is 95 tons. Okay. So it is basically this way. The key highlights of the inauguration. So, overview of the facilities. If I talk about this facility, C-295 aircraft production facility, Tata Advanced Systems Limited and Airbus is India's first private facility dedicated to military aircraft production. Earlier, military aircraft production was happening, but it was undertaken by Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. Like we have had a joint venture with Russian companies to manufacture Ilyushin, but that was being manufactured or undertaken by HAL. But yes, this is the first where private players are there and they are manufacturing the aircraft for military purposes. The first Made in India aircraft will be completed by September 2026. Local impact, it will generate 10,000 jobs across the country. 18,000 parts will be manufactured locally and is expected to create these many jobs. So yes, we are becoming more and more Atmanirbhar over here. Now a bit about C-295 also you should know. What is C-295? So this, first of all, the nomenclature C-295. C stands for CASA, the original manufacturer of this particular aircraft. 2 stands for number of engines in this aircraft. 95 stands for the payload capacity of 9.5 tons, which it can carry. As I said that it is a medium lift aircraft. So medium lift aircraft means it can carry this much, 9.5 tons. So 95 stands for that. So it is going to be a Make in India program, partnership Airbus and Tata. So Airbus was basically the company which was manufacturing it in Spain. It is a Spanish company. So it can carry up to 71 troops or 50 paratroopers, 5 standard pallets, 24 healthcare units. It is basically going to be based on Indian technology, indigenous self-protection system from Indian BEL and BDL. Versatile and efficient it is going to be. So it is there. India's aerospace sector, 15,000 high-skilled jobs are expected to be generated directly and indirectly. 10,000 indirect jobs in the next 10 years are going to be generated through this. So this is how it is going to be there. Now about C-295 program. So we've seen till now about the C-295 as an aircraft. Now what is this program? What is the timeline of delivery and all? We'll see. In 2021, India's Ministry of Defence signed 21,935 crore rupees agreement with Airbus for procurement of 56 C-295 transport aircrafts. We were procuring them. This procurement is intended to replace the Indian Air Force's aging fleet of Avro 748 planes. So these are medium lift airplanes right now we are using, and they've become age old, so we are going to replace them. The delivery schedule: fully assembled aircraft, 16 C-295 aircraft will be delivered fully assembled from Spain. They will not be manufactured in India, they will not be assembled in India. Local assembly: the remaining 40 aircraft will be assembled at the new facility in Vadodara. Timeline: the first locally produced aircraft is expected to be completed by September 2026. We know that. With all 40 units scheduled for delivery by August 2031. And for these, 40 aircrafts which are going to be assembled in India, some of the parts will also be procured from India. So this is what we need to understand and know. Now, C-295 was the major highlight, but yes, what all other things happened, we should also know about that. Now, bilateral talks and agreement, they both talked about strengthening ties. PM Modi emphasized that this project signifies a new chapter in India-Spain relations. Two leaders finalized agreements on infrastructure creation, railways, renewable energy, culture and tourism. So some specific agreements like MOU on rail transport. This agreement aims to boost cooperation in infrastructure planning and operation for both passenger and freight transport. Customs cooperation. The customs agreement will facilitate better information exchange to combat custom offences like smuggling and all. So these were some of the additional, I would say, agreements which were signed during the Spanish Prime Minister's visit. Now going into the historical ties between India and Spain, they formalized, means both these countries have formalized their relations, diplomatic relations in 1956, laying the groundwork for future cooperation. So formalizing diplomatic ties means we opened embassies in each other's countries. Cultural and democratic values: despite limited early interactions, both nations shared core values such as democracy, respect for multiculturalism, and such like. So, this is the confluencing point between both these countries, we can say. High level interactions, regular exchanges between leaders have been so crucial in strengthening diplomatic and economic ties. So, this is how it is going to be. Economic and commercial cooperation between the two countries. The trade relations: positive developments in trade and investment have been noted. Investment in India: about 230 Spanish companies operate in India, showing support for Make in India. A new mechanism to facilitate mutual investment was established as a fast track mechanism. That is why I said that it took only 2 years for this facility to be, materialized. Joint Commission for Economic Cooperation, next meeting of JCEC to be held in Spain in early 2025. That is in the coming months only. It is going to happen. Bilateral trade. What is the volume of trade between both these countries? So, Spain ranks as India's sixth largest trade partner within the European Union. Not overall sixth largest trade partner, but within European Union. Total trade volume is $8.25 billion, showing 4.2% increase from the previous year. And India enjoys a surplus. India's exports to Spain is $6.33 billion out of these $8.25 billion total trade. Imports from Spain, $1.92 billion with a modest growth of 1.05%. And here we have a growth in India's exports to Spain as 5.2%. Major items of export: mineral fuels, chemicals, iron and steel, electrical machinery and apparel. So, this is what we export to Spain. Bilateral investment. Have we invested in each other's countries? Yes, we have. Spanish investment in India from April 2000 To December 2023, Spanish FDI in India is $3.94 billion, making Spain the 16th largest investor in the country. Over 280 Spanish companies operate in India. Indian investments in Spain, vice versa, are also there. But yes, as compared to the Spanish investments in India, our investments in Spain are less, $900 million only, with investments from about 80 Indian companies in IT, pharmaceuticals, and logistics. Economic Cooperation Frameworks, Joint Commission on Economic Cooperation, JCEC, established in 1972, with the latest meeting occurring in April 2023, focusing on enhancing economic ties. So, this JCEC meeting is going to be there in 2025, early 2025, as we read. So, this is the institutional mechanism through which both these countries are, you know, uh, collaborating with each other. CEOs Forum, launched in 2015, this platform facilitates discussions between business leaders to boost trade and to boost trade relations, I would say. So this is going to happen. Strategic significance, defense collaboration. Spain plays an important role in India's defense modernization. As we saw, C295 is a defense, I would say, aircraft. So yes, it has significance in it. Continuing expertise in areas like aerospace and naval technology. The Spanish companies are involved in key defense projects, enhancing India's military capabilities. Counter-terrorism efforts we are collaborating upon, because European countries are also under the influence of terrorism or under the impact of terrorism, we can say. So we are. Yes, the magnitude can be different. So, but yes, we both are collaborating on this front as well. Sustainable development, Spain and India are committed to climate action, working together on sustainable development goals and renewable energy projects, aligning with each other. So, Spain has shown interest in International Solar Alliance as well, which was a brainchild of India, headquartered in India. Global issues and cooperation. So, 2026 is going to be observed as India Spain year of culture, tourism, and AI. AI is artificial intelligence. Both these countries are wanting to find new and new ways of exploring better and better use of AI. This initiative aims to enhance cultural exchanges, cooperation in artificial intelligence, emphasizing the shared interests of both the nations. War in Ukraine, both of these countries are of this viewpoint that there should be peaceful resolution of the war in Ukraine. Middle East stability, Israel, Gaza, conflict, Iran, and all. Joint condemnation of violence and calls for humanitarian aid over there. Climate change and renewable energy, commitment to collaborative efforts in addressing climate change. Counter-terrorism cooperation, strong condemnation of terrorism, and a call for global action against terrorist organizations. And Spain has supported India's bid for permanent membership in the United Nations Security Council, which is a very good news because Spain is a key player in the European Union. European Union is the West, and from that region, three permanent members are there. We can say from the West, basically, USA, France, and UK. And if someone from there is promoting our bid, so that definitely strengthens our case. This is basically the global issues and cooperation between both the countries. Now, multilateral cooperation and diaspora. So, United Nations, we both are members. G20, we both are members. That is why, the Spanish Prime Minister was here last year for the G20 summit. International Solar Alliance, Spain's involvement in ISA supports India's initiative to promote solar energy and sustainable practices globally. And talking about the Indian diaspora in Spain, there is no, I think, country practically left where there is no Indian diaspora. Indian diaspora is the strongest in the world with 32 to 35 million people of Indian origin spread all across the world. And Spain as a country has 55,000 Indians residing over there. Those basically are either NRIs or those are, OCIs. Now, these people are engaged in hospitality, IT sector, and such like. So, yes, it is a very, very, I would say, notable fact that Indian diaspora, decent amount of Indian diaspora is also there. Now, as a tag of Vishwamitra goes, we are friends with all. Why to leave any country? So, Spain is one such very, very crucial country in European Union. And yes, tourism has a lot of potential to grow in both the countries. Apart from it, when avenues like C295 and all definitely are there. The Airbus is manufacturing military aircraft. We can also look for civilian aircrafts also. So this is how we can look forward to collaborate with countries like Spain. And yes, India's global presence will definitely be impacted in a positive sense with such kind of collaborations. Now we move on to the next topic, that is Justice Sanjeev Khanna to be appointed as the new Chief Justice of India. How the Chief Justice of India is appointed, that is the major, I would say, issue over here in this topic. And how other judges of the Supreme Court are also appointed, we'll look into that as well. So, Chief Justice of India is basically uh, the one of the judges of Supreme Court, we can say, but he is at the highest position because there has to be a hierarchy. Now, there is a simple convention for appointing the Chief Justice of India. The simple convention is that the outgoing CJI, in this case Mr. D.Y. Chandrachud, will recommend the name of the senior most judge of the Supreme Court. It is, everyone knows who is the senior most judge, but yes, it is a formality, and that recommendation is given to the center. Actually, that recommendation is given to the Union Law Minister. The Union Law Minister gives it to uh, the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister gives it to the President. And the President, as per the Constitution, Article 124(1), is responsible for appointment of the judges of the Supreme Court, including the Chief Justice of India. Now, that recommendation of the outgoing CJI for the next CJI, is it binding on the government? Is it binding on the center? Yes, it is binding on the center. The center has to accept it. This is what we need to understand. So, this is the procedure in a nutshell. But yes, I've to tell you more about it. So, Mr. Khanna, Justice Sanjeev Khanna will hold the post for a little over 6 months. Why only 6 months? Because this much time is only left until his retirement. So he's the senior most judge. Even if 2 months are left, even if few days are left, then also this precedent, or this, I would say, uh, age-old practice is followed in the Supreme Court of India. Has it always been followed? No, it has been violated 2 times since independence. I'll be talking about those 2 times as well. That the senior most judge of the Supreme Court was not appointed as the CJI. But yes, you know, the tenure for the next CJI of India is going to be about 6 months. Then DY Chandrachud, if I talk about this CGI has served as uh, a tenure of around 2 years, and this is one of the highest in the recent years. So if we see the tenure of the judges in the recent years, so from 2006 onwards, Mr. Y.K. Sabharwal 14 months, K.G. Balakrishnan 39 months, 29 days. So this was basically more than Mr. D.Y. Chandrachud. It was more than 3 years. Then S.H. Kabadia, 28 months, 17 days. This was also more than Mr. D.Y. Chandrachud. Then Altamas Kabir, 9 months, 19 days. P. Satasivam, 9 months, 8 days. R.M. Loda, 5 months, 1 day. H.L. Dattu, 14 months, 5 days. T.S. Thakur, 13 months, 1 day. J.S. Khehar, 7 months, 24 days. Deepak Mishra, 13 months, 3 days. Ranjan Gogoi, 13 months, 15 days. Sharad Arvind Bobde, 17 months, 6 days. N.V. Ramanna, 16 months. U.U. Lalit, 2 months, 13 days. And Mr. D.Y. Chandrachud, 24 months, 2 days. And the next CJI, Mr. Khanna, is going to be holding office for around 6 months. So, yes, we've seen two judges who have served more than Mr. D.Y. Chandrachud since 2006. 2006, almost, I would say, 20 years. But yes, 18 in the last 18 years. Yes, there have been two judges which have served more than Mr. D.Y. Chandrachud. But yes, the tenure of the CJI is not fixed. It is dependent upon the tenure of the remaining service of the senior most judge of the Supreme Court. Now, procedure for appointment. Appointment of CJI and judges of the Apex Court is governed by the Memorandum of Procedure. CJI and judges of the Supreme Court are appointed by the President under Clause 2 of Article 124. I might have said 124(1), but yes, let me correct myself. It is Clause 2 of Article 124 of the Constitution. CJI appointment to the office of the CJI should be of the senior most judge of the Supreme Court considered fit to hold office. So senior most is basically a convention which has been ongoing. Doesn't matter if the senior most judge has a tenure of 1 day or 2 days also left, then also the senior most judge will be appointed. The convention will not be bypassed, it will not be violated. The Union Law Minister seeks the recommendation of the outgoing CJI on his successor. The outgoing CJI says that this is going to be my successor. And who is going to be my successor? The senior most judge of the Supreme Court. This is a foundation on the outgoing CJI also. Then once this recommendation is given by the CJI to the Union Law Minister, this recommendation goes from the Union Law Minister to the Prime Minister, from the Prime Minister to the President, and President under Article 124 Clause 2 appoints the next CJI. Here also, this recommendation of the Chief Justice, the outgoing Chief Justice of India is binding on the government, is binding on the Union Law Minister, is binding on the Prime Minister, is binding on the President of India most of all. So this is how it goes. Now next is we now know how the CJI is appointed, but yes, how are other judges of the Supreme Court appointed? We should know and understand that as well. Now the appointment is done on the recommendations of a collegium. Collegium, yes, collegium is basically a forum of Chief Justice of India and 4 senior most judges of the Supreme Court. They recommend names. Now, if a judge for the Supreme Court has to be appointed, that judge either will be appointed from the High Court, must have served in the High Court for 10 years, or must be an eminent lawyer for 10 years. So, the judges of the Supreme Court only decide who is going to be the judge. This is a closed system or a closed mechanism, we can say, and that closed mechanism is named as collegium. Is collegium constitutional? Means, is it mentioned in the Constitution? The remarkable thing is that it has no place in the Indian Constitution. In the Indian Constitution, though, it is simply written that Article 124 Clause 2, President of India has to appoint the Chief Justice of India and other judges of the Supreme Court. So this collegium system is a result of lot of conflict between the executive and the judiciary over the years. The 3 judges case we should know and we should understand, and we'll be talking about them as well. So this has made the appointments opaque, first of all, to the judiciary, because we don't know from the outside that what criteria is being kept for promoting or appointing a judge as a judge of the Supreme Court by the collegium. And most importantly, the recommendations of the collegium are binding on the government that you have to appoint this person only, which we are recommending. The collegium has decided. Now, the judiciary has its own logic behind it. Judiciary says that the primacy of judiciary will be maintained. It is a basic feature of the Constitution that separation of executive and judiciary should be there. We don't want interference of executive of any sorts in judiciary, especially in appointment. So they have their own logic. Whereas the government, on the other hand, has its own logic. Now, government took a bold move in 2014. The 99th Constitutional Amendment Act was passed, and the National Judicial Appointments Commission was to be formulated, which had to replace the collegium system. In that National Judicial Appointments Commission, there were total 6 members. 3 were from Supreme Court, CJI, and 2 senior-most judges. 1 was the Union Law Minister, and 2 members had to be nominated. Now, these 6 members had to vote for a person to be appointed as the judge of the Supreme Court or the High Court. Now, majority obviously won, had to win, I would say. But if 2 people vetoed a name, then that person would not be appointed as a judge of the Supreme Court. There in the NJAC for appointment of the CJI, the same principle was followed, which is now followed, that the senior most judge of the Supreme Court will be appointed as CJI. There was no change in that. But yes, appointment of judges of the Supreme Court, there was a change. There was a change that the collegium system had been replaced by the NJAC. But that NJAC was nullified or cancelled in 2015 by the Supreme Court itself. So this is, the scenario right now. The collegium system was restored and the collegium system is not constitutional. We should know and understand this. So how did the collegium system come into existence. So this evolution of the collegium system is basically, or the genesis of it can be found out in the three judgments. And these three judgments are in the three judges case. The first judges case, SP Gupta case in 1981. Primacy of CGI's recommendation on judicial appointments and transfers can be refused for cogent reasons. See, the Chief Justice of India was recommending names, no doubt about this fact. But before this first judge's case, or when this first judge's case came, not before so definitely it was, but when this first judge's case happened, then also it was decided ki by recommendations CGI can give, but these recommendations will be, depending upon the government to accept or not accept. It will solely depend on the government. So this is basically the first judge's case. It can be refused. So the judiciary did not have primacy over appointments. The primacy was with the executive, that is the government, since the government could refuse the recommendations made by the CGI. The second judge's case of 1993 introduced collegium system. The collegium system was for the very first time introduced over here. It ruled that CGI would have to consult a collegium of its two senior most judges in the apex court. So collegium at that time was CJI plus two senior most judges. But the question remains whether the recommendations given by this collegium will be binding on the government or not. So here for the very first time, the second judge's case, the collective opinion of the collegium would have primacy over the government or executive, means the recommendations given by this collegium of three people, CGI and two senior most judges, binding on the government. Then the third judge's case happened in 1998. Supreme Court on presidential reference under Article 143 expanded the judicial collegium to its present composition of the CGI and four of his senior most judges. So in the third judge's case, nothing substantial happened, but yes, the collegium was expanded from three judges, means CGI and two senior most judges, to CGI plus four senior most judges. So from three people to five people, this collegium was expanded. The recommendations of the collegium were binding on the government as usual, and this is the current scenario according to which the appointments are done. Supreme Court judge appointment. How does this Supreme Court judge appointment happens? So first of all, let us recall how does the CGI appointment happens. So outgoing CGI recommends a name, obviously senior most judge of the Supreme Court. This recommendation goes to the law minister. From law minister, it goes to the PM, and from PM, it goes to the president. This is basically the procedure. Now, for appointing us the CJI of India. For appointing the judge, Supreme Court judge, what is the procedure? The collegium. Collegium is CJI plus four senior most judges. They give the recommendations to the law minister to the PM, PM to the president. Under Article 124, Clause 2, the appointment is done. So this is how the CJI is appointed, and this is how the judge of the Supreme Court is appointed. Criticisms of the collegium system: insufficient background checks. We don't know what is happening, what kind of checks they do, whether they do it or not. There is a very famous uncle judges syndrome which has been there attached with the judiciary, which means that there is nepotism followed. The system is non-formal and opaque. We don't know what are the criteria set for appointment and all. Overlooks the talent pool. The talent pool is overlooked, and since it is overlooked, so preferences are there. And for overcoming this, the National Judicial Appointments Commission bill was there, the 99th Constitutional Amendment Act, but sadly that has been nullified by the Supreme Court in 2015. Now the MCQs. First is, Airbus has collaborated with which Indian company to manufacture C295 in India? First is Reliance, second is Adani Defense Systems, third is Tata, fourth is Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, HAL. Very simple question it is. Second question, 95 in C295 stands for which of the following? So 95 in C295 stands for which of the following? The year in which C295 was launched, that is 1995. The weight of the aircraft, 95 tons. The weight it can carry, 95 tons, or none of the above. So very carefully answer this question. Third, consider the following statements and mark the correct one. India has a trade deficit with Spain. The year 2026 is declared to be the year of culture, tourism, and AI for India and Spain. Which of these statements are true? Fourth is consider the following statements with respect to appointment of CGI and mark the correct one. The CGI is appointed by the President on the basis of recommendations given by the Collegium. The recommendations for appointment of any judge of Supreme Court made by the Collegium are binding on the government. Only one, only two, both one and two, neither one nor two. Now, the answers to the MCQs of 28th October. Which agency releases the World Economic Outlook? Very simple it was. It is IMF, Indian International Monetary Fund. This report is released twice a year, April and October. Second question, consider the following statements and mark the correct one. The World Economic Outlook is released twice a year and entails the global inflation trends. Yes, this statement is true as I just mentioned. The World Economic Outlook 2024 has positioned India as the fastest growing major economy in the world. Yes, this is also true. So C is going to be the correct answer for this. Which of the following countries does not share a shoreline with Caspian Sea? So I have included the map. So from the map it will be easy. Russia. So yes, Russia shares a boundary with, the Caspian Sea. Here is the Caspian Sea and this is Russia. It shares a boundary. Talking about Turkey. Turkey is over here. The Turkey shares a boundary with Black Sea, not Caspian Sea. So this is going to be the correct answer. Iran shares, Kazakhstan shares. Iran is here. Kazakhstan is over here. The longest boundary actually is shared by Kazakhstan only. Now, Turkmenistan also shares apart from these countries. Azerbaijan also shares apart from these countries. Which of the following are factors of decline in the size of Caspian Sea? Damming and climate change, both are there. Russia is damming the Volga River, which is bringing most of the water to the Caspian Sea. So we will try to see through the map if the Volga River. Yes, this is the Volga River coming into the Caspian Sea, and here a lot of dams are being created by Russia. And the last question, which is the earlier name of exercise Simbex. This was very simple and straightforward exercise. Lion King is the correct answer for this. Now with this, we have come to an end of today's session. I will be seeing you tomorrow now with more such informative news pieces. I hope you guys are back to work from your Diwali holidays. If you are not, be back as soon as possible. Celebrations have to be there, but most importantly, we have to get back to work as soon as possible. We do not have that much leverage as UPSC aspirants. So with this, signing off for today. I'll be seeing you tomorrow with more such informative news pieces. Till then, you guys very well know what to do. Namaste. Jai Hind.